and I'm the creator of YouTube channel For the Love of Autism. And today I am here with Connie Regalado. I'm very excited because we are pre-launching our book club that we're going to be doing for the book Autism. And just to tell you a little bit about autism, the book is spelled AWETIZM, a hidden key to our spiritual magnificence. And that second subtitle really measures as to the content of what is in this book. And I wanted to read to you a little bit about the cover and the title and why they named it the way they did. Our ultimate experience of autism rises above the struggle to reveal extraordinary gifts locked within its unique form and function. The name autism, and spelled AUTISM, deeply steeped in the struggle, no longer worked for us as an appropriate identity to use in the title of the book. Autism, spelled AWETIZM, opens up a whole new doorway to touch the awe within autism that can ultimately lead us into the awe of our own spiritual magnificence. So I thought that was really a lovely description of the title and a way to kind of introduce this book and what's within it. But what I want to do now is introduce you to my co-host, Connie Regalado, and she's going to be hosting the book club with me. And she has a really wonderful story in regards to her personal experience with her son, as well as what brought her to find this book. And I know that she kind of had like a maybe we could call it the awakening, an awakening experience back in 2011. Some profound experiences that started her somewhat really opening up to the spiritual aspects of life and everything that goes on. And her son, in about 2013, she has a nonverbal autistic son, and found out he'd been telepathically communicating with a coworker of hers. And that's a really fascinating story within itself. And I'm sure some of those details will come up over time in our recordings. But they were just undeniable communications and authentic, and there was no way that this person was coming through with was something that she would have known on her own. And so what Connie says is she immediately knew that there was something to this. So she got a really strong sense to go Google autism and ascension. And the first thing that popped up was Gail and Lyrica's website, which is www.autism.com, and found the book. And when she glanced at the website, she immediately knew that she was in the right place. And so she began by telling me reading the autism book was an exciting event for my entire family. So Connie, if you could pop on and let us know from there kind of your story, we would love to hear from you.
Oh, well, hi, Amy, and everyone watching. I'm very excited to be here. I just want to say that it seems like it's been a long time since I've actually picked up this book and read it. And the truth of the matter is that I read it last year at the end of February of last year. And it has had such a profound effect on our lives. It is what I call my second awakening book. As you stated earlier, in 2011, that was my first awakening, and that was a creation of a sacred oil that's called Mawab. And at that time, I was told by my sister-in-law, who's psychic, she said, Daniel is playing a big part in this. And I remember thinking, okay, I don't know what you mean. And I didn't, we didn't look into it any further. It was like, okay, I don't see how he plays a part. I see that it was my husband who was doing all the work in it. Daniel was nonverbal, I don't understand. So years went past and we had some great experiences. And in 2013 is when I became aware, to my shock, that Daniel had been communicating with one of my coworkers, and I couldn't. At this point, you gotta remember, I'm awakened, so I'm already looking at the world with a new set of eyes at this point. So I don't immediately dismiss that this is happening, but at the same time, I'm trying to understand how it's happening. How is it that I can see my son at night, but know that he's communicating with you? How is that happening? How is he in? Does it seem like he's in more than one place at one time? How is he doing this? So I just remember one day I was sitting in front of my laptop, and I was just kind of like in a trance, and all of a sudden I'm Googling these words, autism ascension. And you know what's so interesting is that I wasn't really Googling these words to find information because of what Daniel was doing. I was Googling it for another reason, but I don't know the reason, but it's strange. Anyway, so I know. So when I got to the website, I knew I was home. Even before reading the book, just all the Q&A on the website, everything on that website, I felt it in me, and I knew, okay, you know what, I have to read this book. When we got the book, just having the book, it's an energy to the book that you can feel before you even read it. And I said, and I've never done this before, and I said, you know what, we're not going to watch any TV. We're going to read this book. I read the book out loud to the family. And Daniel's very active. He doesn't sit still. He's soft. He does his own thing. And I do recall that when I read this book, he was sitting there and he would listen. That is one of the first times I knew, okay, there's something going on in this book. And I felt he was an appreciation of me finally getting this book. I think Daniel was, of course, already awakened to his power, and he's waiting for the family to get on board and go, okay, you guys see what's in me? I'm so much more than what you think I am. And I remember when I was reading this book thinking, oh my gosh, everyone should read this book. To me, the number one thing I wanted to do was to email the author, which I've never done this before. I've read books before, I've liked them, but this book, I felt like I had to do something. I felt like I had to, hey, this book is great. It's you could feel the love in this book. Even though there are certain parts that some people may not understand, your heart understands it. That's what I love. You can feel that this is the love letter to the world. It helped me to see my son in a different light. Although, granted, I was told already in 2011, oh, he's a key to this. But I'm like, what you talking about, Willis? Now I can see this, and I want others to experience this. This is a great book. And, just after reading the book, to see Daniel grow more spiritually, it's almost like the fact that his family read this book, gave him more power to do his spiritual work, on a deeper level, because one of the things that he said to me last year, and this after we met Gail and Lyrica in person for the first time, and it was the day that they were leaving, he typed on the board, Mom, thank you so much for buying that book. And
I think I'm gonna cry.
I am too, because I did cry, because I realized at that moment how powerful the book was, and how important it is for the message of the book to go out, and as shy as I am, I said, I want to be the voice for this book. I want to share my experiences. I am the one who everybody knows is a logical person, but I am the one right now that's surrounded by all this magic. And I keep wondering what's going to happen next. You know, it's so beautiful. And I can't wait to go more into this. I can't wait. It's going to be so fun. It's
Yeah,
amazing.
I so agree with you, Connie. Thank you. That was wonderful what you shared. That was amazing. Um, I'll tell everybody a little bit more about Gail and Lyrica, the authors, the co-authors of the book. They are mother and daughter, and Lyrica is 39 years old at this point. She's nonverbal, and this was interesting because I was actually speaking to my dad this morning, and I was telling him about facilitated communication. And so the reason I wanted to bring this up is because Connie mentioned it a little bit as far as, doing this with Daniel. It's confirmation of what these nonverbal individuals are actually saying, the communication of the words coming through in spelled out letters. I know that, Connie, you guys use a letter board as well. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So the letter board is one way to do this. It is essentially just a plastic board that has one color and then the other color, I believe it's green on yellow, and it has numbers and letters on it. And so that's what also Gail and Lyrica use to communicate, and some others do as well. And now with all of the technology, it's amazing. iPads and computers, a lot of these individuals are having the ability to really have a voice because they don't have that verbal voice, what we are used to hearing. And the profound information that comes through them is much like what's in that book. And I want to reemphasize what Connie said about how there are some parts of the book that may be difficult to understand, perhaps with the rational mind. But if you open your heart and you allow the words and the information to flow through you, what I experienced was activations and downloads and just these amazing ahas of who we are as a human collective. We're not just these physical bodies that have these sometimes, like in Daniel Lyrica's case, limitations if you look at it from the outside. And when I met Lyrica for the first time, it was definitely a shift for me. Even though I had read the book, I had the opportunity to meet her and Gail. We all met in Sedona to share a little bit of their work and to do some of this meditation that they were doing at the time. And it was a wonderful shift because I was able to experience being with somebody that shined beyond what I saw in their physicality. And I had these moments of like, wow, people see her this way because I was able to see her physically this way. And then the other part of me just knew and felt the depth of what was really going on there. It was her soul. It was her beautiful essence of who she really is. So I would imagine that, Connie, you experienced a lot of that as you started to see Daniel in a different way. Would you touch on that a little bit?
Yes, I actually, like I said, it was like I was getting to know my son again in a new light. I looked at him differently. I saw things. I saw how he would touch you and look in your eyes, and now I could feel the healing energy that he's emitting to me. You know, I it was just amazing because first of all, I didn't even know he could do that. When I saw him type on the board for the first time, I was like, what? Because unfortunately he didn't really have a good school system, and I didn't feel like he learned anything. But Lyrica does touch on that in the book where she says, we're not like you. We don't have to learn like you do. We already know this. And he showed me, I already know this. And not only was he talking so beautifully on the board, he was so deep and spiritual. And I learned from him about past lives. He had this information about, talks about God, and I'm thinking, wow, this is amazing that you're not just telling me like little bitty things, you're talking huge, like spirit, like just such rich, deep information from an individual who just 2 years earlier I thought had nothing there. Nothing was there, but now I see, oh my goodness, there is so much there. You have so much to share with everyone. And thank you for being my teacher, because he already started to teach right then and there, lessons. And, I want to say something, because I liked how Gail in the book said, hey, whether in her own elegant way, she was saying, this is not a debate on whether or not FC is real. And I want to say about that, listen, FC, there's no doubt, because there are things that Daniel has said to me on that board that kind of hurt my feelings. And not that he was trying to be negative or mean, but this is his truth, And so if this were fake, because there were times where I was like, okay, am I encouraging him to type? Because it is they do hold your hand, or there is like a light touch. And there would be times where I would have him repeat what he's saying, or, because I thought, okay, I want to make sure I'm not the one doing this. So it's definitely their words, so, and I love it. It was like a little toy to me. After a while, I would just ask all kind of questions. What about this? What about that? Can you tell me a little bit about this? And the beautiful thing I loved about Daniel was that if he felt like you were getting a little silly with it, he'd stop. No more communication, because this is not, we're not going to be playing with this. This is we're learning now. And then I would be like, oh, okay. So I'd feel like the child a little bit, and he was the parent, but I get it. It's all good. I get it. But the FC, it is a beautiful thing. It really is. And I've had some wonderful experiences, and more to come with that one.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And just to reiterate, FC just stands for facilitated communication. And as Connie was explaining, oftentimes the individual will have their wrist actually slightly supported. And so that's where that questioning comes in of the validity of it. And the thing that I love that you shared is, you as the facilitator, we're still in doubt. So I'm really excited that you're here with your logical way of being, because I think it's really going to be an asset to all of this. Because, I know even Gail to this day, she's become very keen in her telepathy, but she still is adamant at making sure that the message is very clear. And I think it's because she's honoring each of these individuals and allowing to make sure that every word, because every word they say, let me tell you, is purposeful. There is not one word in there that is fluff or chit chat. It's straightforward. So I can see how Daniel's like, okay, enough playing with that, because I got some important things to say here. So that's really fun.
Yes. And just one more thing about that, you have to be willing to accept that truth, because I noticed that there'd be times where I'm kind of walking on eggshells before I ask him something, because I'm thinking, do I really want to know this? But I do ask. And, one of the things that Daniel does that I think is so cool is he will get he's listening to my thoughts. So there's a lot of times before I could even ask the question, he's already responding on the board on what I was thinking. And and at first I didn't realize he was doing it, but then I was like, wait a minute, did you just answer a question in my head? Yes. And then and I test him, what did I ask? And or what was I thinking? And he'd say, you're going to ask me what I wanted to eat for dinner? Oh, and I say, well, do you hear thoughts all the time? He says, more than what I like. More than what he liked. So I said, oh my gosh. So that totally changed my perspective, because before I never worried about or wondered if he could hear me. Now I knew for a fact, okay, this is telepathy on a profound level. And I love this, because this is stuff that I'm in a life right now where a lot of people would say that's not real. And I love it. I'm realizing, in 2011, when it was first happening with my first awakening, I was a little afraid of what people would think, what they're going to think I'm crazy. It's not happening. But now I'm embracing that as this is how it is. This is the new earth. This is how it is right now. So, and it's only going to get better. And we're only going to experience more profound what Gail would say things that make you wiggle, that makes you wiggle. Those things that make you wiggle is what we're going to experience. So get ready for it.
Oh, I love that. It's the stuff that makes you squirm and uncomfortable.
Yes.
I can totally agree with that because, as I've had my journey, my kids were the awakening for me. My very first son, he was born in 2007, and that's when I kind of started on my spiritual journey. And meeting Gail and Lyrica just kind of re-emphasized the passion I have for the new children, which is just this newer generation. And to me, the lines bleed when it comes to the kids with autism and ADHD and all of these labels that they're given through the medical system, which rightfully so. I feel like it's correct to say it's a disorder because it's out of order of what they're used to having in their box and in their order. And really, that's what a diagnosis is. It's a check the box next to the symptom that somebody's having. And so I kind of started to see it that way, to recognize that it's not even necessarily incorrect to label somebody. What's incorrect is to keep them within that box, to not see beyond the physical being, like what we've been discussing. And so there is a really profound message that comes through in this book, and particularly in the second half, because it's written by Lyrica. And it is a little difficult to understand because I know that Gail was honoring her words specifically. The grammar isn't perfect, and there are words and things that, concepts that are just beyond what anything that we have a reference to in our world, the way that we've known it and the way that we learn in education. But my experience as an autism practitioner who really has learned to see beyond the physical being and within the brilliance of, it's essentially based on a whole different thing, but the same thing, where awesomeism is just a different way to see autism, the diagnosis of autism. And what I found was, my children have awesomeism. We all are in awesomeism, and to find our place back to that place of awe, essentially, is an amazing thing to get there, because it's like you say, it's the new earth. It expands so much further beyond all of the dis-ease that we're experiencing on this planet right now. And, you mentioned something about 2011, and the difference between then and now gives me so much excitement and hope for the future, that we will see, and we are seeing, the new earth happening here and now. It's not something that we have to project and wait for in the future. And hope for as, silly new age people or anything like that. It's not a religion. It's not a belief. It's a truth of where we're all going as a collective. So that's why I'm so excited to share, this book, because it really has a profound impact for anybody. You don't have to even know anybody with autism, although today I feel like that's probably really a challenge to not have autism touch your life in some way. And the second half of the book is also co-written by 3 other nonverbal autistics that at the time of writing the book, which was almost over 10 years ago, actually. It was published, I believe, in 2010, and it had been, being written throughout all of those years. And Gail was visiting Lyrica where she was at the time living, and there was a few other blessed souls that she was able to communicate with, and they shared their wisdom as well. And I know this is just going to go ongoing, so I won't go too far into that because we'll have a lot of fun with that as time goes. And the beginning of the book is also really beautiful because it tells the story of Gail, and from the beginning of where she started and her husband at the time, and how Lyrica's life began. So is there anything else, Connie, that you want to share in regards to the book? We're getting ready to start doing this in June. I believe it'll be sometime in late June. I'll actually post down in the description of this video on the YouTube channel. You will find the actual date that it launches. I may even go back in and edit this video and put the actual date, because I'm just realizing, Connie, that we didn't discuss that before I popped on, and I meant to do that with you because I know that we do have a solid date in mind at this point. We just have to really pin it down. So yeah, in that description, I will put actually a couple links to the video for the trailer for the book, as well as an interview, a recent interview that was done by Gail and Lyrica in Sedona just recently. And then, of course, the date of when we do this. So Connie, go ahead. If there's anything else you want to say in closing, we'd love to hear from you.
Well, what I'd say in closing is it's great to be here today to talk about the promo for the autism book, and that this book has really changed my life. It's given me purpose. It's a wonderful book, and I can't wait for others to read it and to talk about it.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here, and thank you everybody for watching. Please share this video, like this video, subscribe to my channel. Do what you can to spread it, and get your copy of the book. It's if you go to the AUTISM website, and I'll have that information in the description below as well, you can get a special price. You can either get the hardcover book, which is this right here that I have, and as Connie said, it is a beautiful work of art in itself. There's artwork and everything from Lyrica. And you can also get the Kindle version for, I believe it's like $5.99. So I would recommend even doing both, because sometimes when you want to lay in bed and cuddle up with the book, even though this thing is magnificent in itself, it's not as cuddly. So just depending on what you prefer, we would love to see you all. And we're going to open up the videos moving forward in these Hangouts for questions and comments. And so I encourage you all to join us and to do those things. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Connie, for your presence and for joining me in this journey. I can't wait to make our trek into the land of awe.
Thank you.
Yep. Bye, everybody.